you enough to know what you want to know more about them after we leave. And then at the end we'll give you guys about 10 or 15 minutes to ask the questions I didn't have the guts to ask. Okay? So that's where we're going to start. So the question I have kind of for all of you is, well, there's a dirty little secret at Kellogg. When I was at Kellogg, which I mean, I'm at Kellogg now, but I was also at Kellogg in your seat years and years and years ago. When I first came in at what was Sim Week at the time, I was worried that I wouldn't fit in. All right, and I was worried that I wouldn't fit in because I was too young. I was only 21. And I was worried that I wouldn't fit in because I had no business background and I was a psychology major. And there were a whole bunch of other things. But everybody in the history of Kellogg has been kind of worried that they were not going to fit in. They were not going to have what they needed to contribute. They were not going to be like everybody else. And so what I'm asking each of these guys is, what's different about you that you worried would not necessarily be allow you to be part of the community here when you came in? And we'll use that for them to kind of introduce their stories to you, and then we'll come back and dig in with each one. All right, so Louise first.
All right, hi everyone. Really honored to be here. I think just in answer to your question, I had something that didn't necessarily make me feel like I wouldn't fit in, but it was something that I always had in the back of my mind. So as you mentioned, I grew up, I'm a child of immigrants from Uganda, and what I always kept in the back of my mind is that my family is extremely, extremely diverse when it comes to socioeconomic statuses. So I have family in Uganda that lives below the poverty line. I mean, these are people who, you might see in certain pamphlets, people asking you to support certain people, people who live in a village with no water, no electricity. And growing up, I grew up in California in a suburban type of neighborhood, and I grew up knowing that I'm from Uganda. I spoke a different language. I ate, food. When I brought it to school, people kind of smell it and say, "What are you eating?" And I grew up a little bit different from that perspective. But when I went back to Uganda for the first time when I was 14, and I went to go visit some of my family in a really deep village in Uganda, I saw just how deep this story really is and how far I've come. And, when I think about my parents and how they came here, how my grandfather grew up in one of those villages and was adopted by certain people who enabled him to have a great education. And he ended up doing incredible things and becoming the judge in Uganda and serving on the high courts and doing all these great things. And then giving my mom the opportunity to come to the United States and do some great things. I think that was kind of always in the back of my mind. That was something that always gave me a sense of responsibility, because I knew that just because I was born here in the United States doesn't give me a certain right to have certain privileges. I think in the U.S. it's easy to have this perspective that I was born here, I worked this hard, I got these grades, I went to this great school, and I deserve this job with these type of economic benefits. And I think seeing my family who is born in these certain conditions and realizing that, hey, it wasn't anything, it was basically luck that I was brought here. So I always had this kind of responsibility I felt to the world to really make sure that I was giving back in everything that I did. And so I always had that, and also just knowing that I needed to be successful, and I had to take every opportunity that was given to me. And so I went to Berkeley, had a great experience there, majored in business administration, and then I went to Goldman Sachs afterwards and worked in equity research. I started at the perfect time in 2008 when everything was the best it could possibly be, and I had some of probably the most challenging times in my entire life there, and I'm sure we'll circle back to that a little bit later, but it was an incredible experience, one full of lots of low lows, but also very high highs. And I ended up kind of there by almost by chance. I wasn't really looking for a job at Goldman Sachs, and I know a lot of people are gunning for that and focus so much on that, but it kind of almost came to me. And I took advantage of that and had this great opportunity to work there for 4 years, and then I ended up coming back here to kind of fulfill some different dreams. And so I guess I'll stop there.
Very good. Very good. All right, let's go to Kate next. Okay. And then we're going to come to you.
That's all right.
Okay, so Kate, what's different about you?
Yeah, so the first day of sim, I was talking to some of my friends in the Moose section, and we're all sort of talking. Is this not?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay, like there. We're all talking about our past experiences. I'm just taking this thing off.
Yeah, just take it off.
This is not going to surprise you when you hear the story. So we're talking about what we did before Kellogg, and someone says, I did something really different. And I was like, oh good, this is going to be an ally. And he goes, I worked for a boutique consulting firm. And I was like, okay, this is making me, I'm getting even more nervous. I'm not used to wearing professional business clothes. I'm used to wearing professional athletic clothes. I don't really understand FOMO. So, so anyway, I played professional tennis for 7 years before I came here. And I've been playing tennis since I was 5 years old. I learned to play as a child on vacation. The story goes that, actually I have photos of this, my parents learned to play as adults, and they fed me a ball, and I just naturally hit the ball over the net, first time with the right form. And my dad, who was a football player in college, was like, she's not doing ballet anymore, we're putting her into tennis. So I've always been really tall for my age too, so ballet was kind of awkward. But
when a door closes,
yeah, another door opens, people. Thank you. So I started playing tennis, and just at first, just taking lessons and enjoying it. And then I started when I was 8 playing sectionally. So I'm from Northern Virginia, so Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, the District of Columbia. I started doing that and traveling. And then when I was 11, I started doing national tournaments. So as soon as school would end in the summer, I would go travel around the country playing tournaments. I've been, I don't know how many times, the public school system threatened to kick me out because I missed, I think, like 30 days of school for tournaments. But anyway, so I was playing and doing well. I became number 3 in the nation as a junior tennis player. I was on the national United States tennis team, so I represented the United States in international competition against other countries. And I earned a scholarship to the University of Texas, which is an awesome athletic program, and they are actually very serious about their tennis. In my senior year, I led the team, along with the other girls, to the national championship finals. We lost to Stanford in the NCAA finals, so it was a really great way to end my college tennis career. And after that, I turned pro. And I played on the tour for 7 years. I've been to over 45 countries. I won 5 singles titles on the WTA, and had some issues with injuries, and sort of forced me to consider other options that didn't involve my body. And so I thought maybe I should do something else. And anyway, the more research I did, the more I thought that business school would be a great thing for me to pursue. And here I am. So I'm in regular clothes, just for you guys.
Me too.
Okay, so how many in the room are fathers? There we go. See, you're not alone.
Oh, good.
All right. So, Mandy, what's different about you?
So,
Special.
well, all right. Ever since I was a kid, I grew up in Mexico, and one of the things that has always defined me is I don't like stereotypes, and I like to break them. I like to just surprise people. My father died when I was 3 years old in Mexico, and I'm from rural Mexico. In Estado de Mexico, which is right outside of Mexico City. My mother was 25 at the time. I was 3. My brother was 2. My sister was 3 months old. So it was a pretty tough sort of situation. My mom needed to immigrate to the States in order to find a better life for all of us, and decided to leave me and my siblings with my grandparents. And so I had to deal with the very first stereotype, orphan. After that, at the age of 12, my mom said she was working here in a factory during the day and cleaning offices at night. And when I met her, I came from Mexico not knowing one word of English, not understanding anything about the culture, really missing out completely on everything, and not understanding my peers at school. And I was the immigrant kid who was trying to speak English, and everybody made fun of. had to deal with all that and the bullying that comes along with that. And I had to deal with another stereotype, immigrant. And then when, a few years later, I had the opportunity to enter the seminary, and the cardinal at the time made an exception and allowed me to study media. I had a deal. I was right in my second year of college seminary. I remember when the sexual abuse crisis in the Catholic Church happened. And I really needed to re-examine myself at that point and really saying, there's a stereotype that's being presented about Catholic priests. Am I going to be that? And I said, heck no. I'm going to show the world that I can be different. And at that time, I did feel that in the Catholic Church, we do not do well with media. And so I asked for permission to be able to face that aspect. And the cardinal made an exception and allowed me to get a degree in journalism. I ended up working for Telemundo, later NBC, and finally Univision Network out of Miami, Florida, as a producer and a writer. And there, I had to face the stereotype of the seminarian, this guy who's crazy, who wants to be a priest in this midst. In the middle of the storm, you want to get on the boat? Really? Really? It's sinking. You want to get out of it? That's not really smart. And then a few years later, I had to face the fact, even within the reality of the church, of finding myself as, when I was ordained a priest, right, an immigrant priest. And so I had to break that stereotype. And so when the cardinal said to me, Manny, I think you should consider going to business school. And then I caught myself creating a stereotype for all of you. And I said to the cardinal, you want me to go with that type of people? I just could not see myself, in an atmosphere, well, no, not. That's your word, Professor Henderson? No, mine. But I said, you want me to do what? You want me to go into business school? That's not what I'm about. I just couldn't really fathom the idea. And he said to me, Manny, the biggest issue that's facing the Catholic Church at this point is from Chicago all the way to the Vatican. So I'm a Chicago priest. He said to me, the biggest issue is management. We do not know how to manage assets. We do not know how to manage people. And all the issues that we have had in recent history has been because of that. We're going to pioneer here a little experiment, and we're going to send you to learn about whatever those business students are learning, and apply them to church life, so that we can be a better church, as Pope Francis said, for the poor, and a church that is poor, and really managing others in a rich way. And so I came in, and my biggest fear was the stereotype. The stereotype of priests. That's what I feared. Those of you, I see a few of my questies here. We're in Gran Canaria, imagine that. My biggest fear since I came and since I applied and I was accepted has been, what are they thinking? Because everybody has their own idea of the Catholic Church. Just I had my own idea about business students, right? And so when they're seeing, many of you must have had great experiences, and perhaps some of you not so great experiences. I have had not so great experiences with the Catholic Church too. And so I was thinking, I'm going to have to face the multiple stereotypes that exist in everybody's mind every time that they see me walking the halls of Kellogg. And so that was my fear. And so certainly, I think Quest served, it was incredible. And then also Sim Week. Sim Week was incredible. We all got to wear the shirt, right? The stinky shirt for an entire week. And we were so concentrated on winning that we did not care too much, to get to know each other. We really didn't have time to get to know each other. And so people were floored Monday after Sim Week when I entered the classroom and I'm dressed like this. They're like, you're the priest? Sorry, guys. Sorry to disappoint you. I'm the one.
All right, very good. All right, so do we have some stories to tell? I think we have some stories to tell here. So let's go back to Louise here. And